Most beginners think that sword fighting defense is complicated. Different type of swords, dozens of guards, names in German, names in Italian. But what if I told you that all of sword fighting defense could be understood with just a few simple ideas? Today I will simplify everything about sword fighting defense, specifically with longsword. But you could use this type of ideas with saber, with sword and buckler, with rapier and dagger, and so on. And you will see it visually, just like you should in sword fighting. So if you don't know me yet, hi, I'm Michael Kozin and I have over 2 years of experience with longsword in historical European martial arts, sparring and competing. And right now I'm helping beginners out with their sword fighting journey inside of my free school community, links in the description. And that's why it's very important for me to actually explain to you how sword fighting defense actually works. All of this knowledge I base on my own experience alone, and this video took me long enough to make, believe me. Let's introduce first core idea, which is sword fighting defense or longsword defense isn't about memorizing techniques. It's about coverage, it's about space, it's about timing, and it's about proper structure. Today I will not teach you specific moves on how to defend from each type of strike. No, today I will actually show you how to see the incoming attack and understand how to actually defend from it with proper structure. Because sword fighting defense is not about strength. Visualization number 1, the center line. Let's introduce the center line. So imagine a straight line, a string connecting your opponent's neck to your neck. This is the center line. If the line is open from your side without your opposition on the center line, then you're exposed to any kind of attack. But if the line is closed by your sword, so your opposition, then you're kinda safe. The center line is also a point or a vertex on your body and your opponent's body where all of lines of attack connect with each other on your opponent's body, if they're with the intention to hit. A vertex point which could be moved up or down depending on your opponent's height and your own. Defense is all about controlling the center line, but most of all it's about understanding the true center line. So I will show you once again. When you're covering the center line with your opposition, so with your sword, then you're kinda safe. But if your blade is offline, then you're entirely exposed to any kind of strikes. Could be cuts or thrusts. Visualization number 2, the door or coverage. Let's make it more intuitive. Think of your defense like a door which could be moved from side to side, from place to place, but a door which could not be winded to defend everything at once. If you open that door slightly, then the heat goes through. But if you close the door entirely, then the attack stops at that door. So now let's relate it to guards. Guards are just different ways of closing that door, but most of all, the guards are just a position of your swords in relation to your body and the way that you grip it also. That means that guards are not always meant for defense. And this exact door that I was speaking of in sword fighting, it's called parry. So the parrying technique is the most fundamental defensive maneuver in a sword-to-sword combat without shields. And that means that there's no such thing as blocking an attack passively, because in sword fighting, so fencing without shields, your defense is as proactive as your strikes. That is why it is called parrying, because we have to intercept our opponent's blade into a specific strong structure to stop his strike right there. The best way to parry is to intercept our opponent's blade with our strong half of the blade. So from the middle part of the blade to the cross guard, and with the long edge, also called the true edge, on our blade. Visualization number 3, the semicircle or the arch. Let's build on what we already know about the door, so parrying, which is the semicircle or the arch of sword fighting defense. It's something that I came up with entirely by myself. Why the semicircle? Because the incoming attacks, specifically cuts, which we can intercept with our blade outside of our body's outline, come to our upper half of the body, starting from our belt area. The cuts and thrusts that come beneath our semicircle aren't the attacks that can be consistently defended from. That means that semicircle or the arch of sword fighting defense is made against the attacks that come to our upper half of the body, starting from the belt area. Let's compare the semicircle to our vertex point on our body, which usually would be the starting point of your neck from your chest, or the upper half of your chest. As you can see, the semicircle is a good way to create this so-called dome of coverage that you can move from place to place by just moving the door into the direction of the incoming attack. The semicircle is a good way to defend from the cuts, which have the clear line trajectory. But we have to move our strong half of the blade in this semicircle to actually intercept the opponent's blade with our strong structure, even without much strength needed. Okay, the next section is for more advanced guys. So if you're just a beginner, then you don't need to worry about it for now. It's about how to defend from a thrust. So a thrust is usually made into our vertex point on our body, and it bypasses our parry outside of our body's outline because it comes from the center line. So here we need to change our 2D semicircle into 3D semi-dome because of the nature of a thrust coming directly on the center line to us or to our opponent. As you can see, because of the nature of the thrust coming on the center line, I have to swipe it away before it reaches my body, right? So I have to get into the binding before the point gets to me. So I have to parry with my strong structure, so with my strong half of the blade, by swiping my sword from side to side to defend from a thrust. Visualization number 4, the distance. Let's introduce also distance control to our practice. So if you're too far from the strike, then you automatically void the entire strike, which is the best defense overall, but it doesn't get you anywhere. But if you're too close to your opponent, then you're in complete danger because you can't really void the attack by ducking or moving weird shit. You just get hit. But the perfect distance for parrying means that your opponent's strike could still reach you with the end of the opponent's blade, but you're in a position, in a perfect position to also parry the incoming attack with your blade. The key insight to remember is that being out of range is the best defense overall, but it doesn't get you anywhere because you don't have the opportunity to strike back. That's why the best parrying distance is when your opponents can still reach your body with the end of his sword, and that's a position where you want to be when trying to parry your opponent in the first place. So let me show you. If I can take a step back, then I'm entirely voiding the attack of my opponent, which is of course the best defense overall. But if I step in wrong or just stay at place, then I get hit. That's why when I try to parry my opponent, I also take a step or two backward. This creates more time for me to actually parry my opponent successfully and still being in range to riposte back, still having the opportunity to steal the initiative and strike back. Visualization number 5, the timing. Let me explain it to you simply. If you're too early with your parry technique, then you miss the opponent's blade entirely, and your opponent who strikes you can just change the trajectory of the strike to actually hit you. If you're just too late to parry your opponent, then you automatically get hit, right? But if you're just on time, then you parry your opponent successfully. So let's introduce an idea. You're not passively blocking opponent's sword, you're interrupting your opponent's strike by precise timing. Putting it all together. So let's combine all of the 4 ideas together. So the center line, the door, so our coverage, so parrying technique, the semicircle or the arch of moving your coverage, distance control, and precise timing. If you control the coverage, stay at the right distance, and move at the right time, then you don't need 15 techniques to memorize while fighting. Let's also tackle common beginner mistakes. So the first common beginner mistake would be trying to memorize all of the defense techniques. I already showed you the visualization that you could actually apply to your own practice and sparring also. The second beginner mistake would be freezing at one place when trying to defend from a strike. So even though you could be good at parrying when moving your sword, there is a huge chance that if you don't actually take a step back or even 2 while parrying, then you will not parry, you will just get hit. And the third thing is thinking too much. When you're fighting, you're supposed to actually focus on attacking your opponent and defending, not only on the defensive side. Actually, experienced fighters don't think in moves, they see openings and just use them to their advantage. Sword fighting defense isn't complicated at all. We just make it complicated. So let's reinforce key ideas for sword fighting defense. It's about perception, it's about simplicity, it's about constant practice, and it's about proper structure rather than just pure strength. So don't actually memorize defense, try to learn to see it. This video took all of my sword fighting understanding, which is based entirely on my own experience, which I earned through testing my metal. So if you made it this far, then join my free school community, links in the description, where I actually help beginners out with starting their own sword fighting journey without much gear in the first place. And also consider supporting this channel through the membership group called the Vanguard. Also consider supporting my sister here through her Ko-fi page, where she takes art commissions, so check her out. Also, the last thing that I haven't said to you yet, if you join my free school community right now, there is 100% chance that I will reach out to you to help you out with your sword fighting journey, of course, through the community chat, so one-to-one DMs. And if you like this video and like my content in general, remember to subscribe to my channel and give a thumbs up, because it's just free thing that you could do for this channel and my growth and my sister growth here, right? So yeah. And remember, Always take the initiative.